Hi and welcome back to the Yarn Chicken, and welcome to the second time of me trying to film this, because the first time I was filming 7 minutes into the first video, my mic cut out. So here we are, the second time around, a few days later, but that means that I can give you even more updates than I could the last time, which is, in a way, a good thing, for you at least. So today is the third episode of my knitting podcast, and I will be going through my finished objects, my current works in progress, and my purchases, my recent purchases. I am actually already showing you one of my finished objects. This was not finished in the last iteration of this video because I just had one of the sleeves left to do. But this is the Feels Right tee by Lily Kate France, or Lily Kate Makes. Lily Kate something. I have knitted in the Bomulin from Isager, which is a cotton linen mix, and I knitted on a 3.5mm needle. The pattern actually calls for a bit of a thicker yarn, but I wanted a light summer top, so this is what I went for. And as you can see from the background and from basically everything I knit, this is a favorite color of mine. What alterations did I do? I made two alterations. One, I didn't include the decreases on the outside, the sleeve shaping. So the original pattern calls for a bit of a puffy sleeve right here, and I didn't want to do that because this is a t-shirt that will be replacing one of my worn out t-shirts in basically this color, and I wanted it to make it as closely as possible. So this is, I mean, it stands out a bit, and now having worn it a few days, I think I might go back and just do the short row shaping a bit more sparingly, so the sleeve doesn't flare out like this, but sits a bit closer to the arm. Hang on, let me put on my glasses because I'm not wearing contact lenses, and that made me a bit headachy. I'm very pleased with the end result. I am, however, not very pleased with the pattern itself. So I loved the pictures of the project on Ravelry. I thought they were very well made. I had heard great things about Lily Kate France Makes, but this pattern didn't feel as worked through as I would have expected it to be. And also, one of my main gripes, because we all make editing mistakes or layout mistakes, but one of the things that bothered me was that the pattern as it's written is not how she has made it for the sample pieces. So the samples she modified the length of to fit her longer torso, I think she said. I don't know, I thought that was a bit strange because I would think that the pattern as it's written is how it's supposed to look in the promotion photos. But I paid for the pattern, I have made it, I made some modifications. I think I will continue modifying this pattern because I think it's a good base, and above all, I think that the shaping in the back for the shoulder peaks is quite nice, and as well as the shaping for the neck hole. I like this look of the round neck hole. The sleeves, granted, I didn't make them as the pattern suggests, but I think the sleeves are easily modifiable, as well as the body, either work the decreases or omit them completely for a boxier fit. The yarn itself I really enjoy. I wore this to the Pride Parade in Stockholm. I have worn this underneath thicker clothes. I've worn it as is. It wears beautifully, it washes beautifully, it dries beautifully, and I am, all in all, no notes. This is quickly becoming one of my staple items. I did make it a bit longer in the body, so after the decrease was ended, I kept on going a few centimeters because I didn't want it to ride up when I was sitting down, and I think it came out at a very good length for me. So this is my first finished object. And now onto my next finished object, which is a bit more controversial in my own opinion, because this is very easy to love. But my Gemma polo by Cookie the Knitter, I was ready to absolutely love it, and I don't know that I do. Obviously, I would know if I did love it because I would wear it non-stop and I couldn't stop talking about it. Like this t-shirt I've worn so much since I finished it. But the Gemma polo, I mean, again, with the color, lovely color. The stripes, they have their moment. I think I really like the look of stripes like this. I'm usually not much for wearing pattern clothing. A pattern close to my face I feel looks quite busy, so I think I wear a few, one or two patterned skirts, but most of my tops and blouses are completely one color. So this was a bit of a branch out for me. This is knit on a 3.5, no it's not, it's knit on a 5.5 millimeter needle. I did gauge swatch for this, and the original pattern calls for a 5, but I'm a quite tight knitter, so I had to go up to a 5.5 millimeter needle, and then the button band and the double knitted collar are knit in 4, I think. I finished this over a week ago, and I've worn it. I made myself wear it every day because I wanted to finish my thoughts on it before filming. And the recommended yarn for the pattern is Lanagatto Supersoft, which is 100% merino, and it's superwash treated. And that is my biggest issue with this pattern. So I did go through a few options of the yarn for this pattern before I cast it on, and then I found that, oh well, the recommended yarn is available to me, and I like these two colors. This is the color scheme I wanted to go for, and all the other options would have required me to do some gymnastics in gauge. So I did order this yarn, and it's very soft, so the super soft is correct, but it being superwash treated means that it doesn't felt with itself, which is good, I suppose, if you want to wash it in the washing machine, or if you're afraid of it felting. But it also means that some of the ends have already started creeping out of my woven in pieces, and where I have woven in the ends in an inopportune place where I ran out of one skein and had to add another, it looks quite bulky. So here, for example, it's on the front of the shirt, and since the yarn doesn't felt together, I had to be very careful in sewing in the ends, which made the sewn in patch quite thick. The yarn also being superwash treated, because that means it's coated with a microplastic film, as far as I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, means that it doesn't absorb moisture the way 100% non-superwash treated wool does. So when I wash my hands and I get some water droplets dripping down my arm into the shirt, they just stay there. and feel icky. So that's a sensory issue. It's superwash treated, which means it doesn't felt with itself. The yarn is creeping out of my woven in ends, and it doesn't absorb moisture, so it creeps, it purls up. The pattern itself is very clearly written. The pattern I enjoyed reading and following. I had never made a double knit button band before, or even double knit anything, I think. And just following the written instructions, I managed to do this while watching a sports event. So I wasn't able to focus 100% on the knitting at all. The double knitted collar I think looks very neat and it's very squishy. I really like the effect. The double knitted button band was more difficult. So you can see that it does flare out a bit around the buttons, and the button band is a bit longer on the side with the buttonholes and a bit shorter on the side without them. I also messed up the spacing of the buttons, so you can see that they are not evenly spaced, but that's fine. This is a handmade garment and it can show that it's handmade, and this button I always wear unbuttoned anyway because I don't like, either I want a turtleneck that goes all the way up, or I want a bit of space around my my collar area, my throat. So this I always wear open, or I have worn open for the last few days. One other thing that I think is just inherent to this pattern is you can see underneath the button band, the stripe does a little peak. So right here. And that is because the button band is knit by picking up stitches on the side of an already finished panel, and it's knit on a smaller needle size, so it cinches in the yarn underneath and sort of pulls it up a bit in this peak. And I didn't realize this before I had finished the entire body. I didn't realize it before I actually took pictures of it, of the finished object. So I suppose that didn't bother me up until then, and it might be something that I just don't notice. But I would be careful with the tension around the button band for next time, because I did see that on the Ravelry page for this pattern, a lot of people have this peak of just underneath the button band. So that's something to be cautious of. The buttons themselves I got from the box of buttons that I inherited from my great aunt. She was an avid sewist and she just collected buttons. It's really nice to have incorporated a piece of that collection into this sweater. You can see on which side I started my tubular bind off and where I finished. This is so much neater, and this is, I think I just need to go in and tighten these stitches because I was afraid of being overly tight with the cast off. So this bumpy bit I could go in and just tighten up. And also this this yarn tends to lose its shape. It's very fitting for a boxy fit. So in that way, I agree with the yarn choice for the recommended yarn. In basically every other way, I don't agree. So when I knit my sleeves, I intentionally didn't make them stretchy in the cast off because I never wear my sleeves down the full length. I always push them up. So having pushed up my sleeves basically forever, I realized that the sleeves of my garments they look a bit floppy after a while. So I thought, why not make a bit of a tighter cast off for this and see if that makes it hold its shape a bit. But one of the sleeves is a bit too tight. I might go in and redo that so I can push it up a bit more. And then I'm considering if I just do stretchy cast off immediately instead of trying to find the right non-stretchy cast off ratio. So I might modify that. If I ever were to make this pattern again, I would not go for the recommended yarn because, as I said, all of the things. I would be more careful with my gauge for the button band so that the two sides match up in their respective gauge. I might also do smaller button bands so they don't flare out or gape or bump out like this. I am very happy with having knit it, having learned what I did learn from it, and now I know so many new things that I didn't know before. I did a jogless stripe in the round, which I thought was very successful. I don't think I could even tell you on which side I did the color change because it was so successful. So 10 out of 10 for that. And I will continue wearing it until I make a decision on if I like it or not. But there we go. That's my Gemma polo. Also, I thought about the sizes because this comes in I think 5 sizes, so extra small to extra large. And I knit the second size, and I am on gauge, and I'm not a small person. So I knit size small because I didn't want it to be too oversized, and it is still quite large on my usually medium-sized upper body. So I'm a bit hesitant on how well this translates to smaller bodies than mine, because if I, as a medium, knit the size small, how does someone with a size XS body? I mean, they would drown in this. It is meant to be knit with a positive ease of I think 15 centimeters, so that is quite a lot. But still, it's the size range is a bit skewed, I think, towards being too large. And now onto the portion of my current works in progress. I don't have my whip with me. I forgot it at my partner's place. We are moving in together in a few weeks, so that won't be happening again. But for now, please enjoy the clip of me showing you my baby blanket in the past. So this is what is it? A rainbow wave baby blanket. Rainbow wave baby feather blanket. The pattern name does read like those listings on Temu or Amazon or Wish, where it's just a bunch of keywords jammed into one title. So it's rainbow, it's wavy, it's baby blankets, it's feathered, it's lace, it's everything. But this is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I saw someone, I can't remember who, making this baby blanket, and I really liked the finished version. I think they made it with fewer colors, but I thought, why not just cram every yarn scrap you possibly can into that pattern, because I have a bunch of sock weight yarn scraps from previous Christmases where I've knit socks for loved ones. I don't want to knit scrappy socks because that would mean 101 ends to weave in on a tiny sock. So I threw together a bunch of my muted rainbow scraps to make a baby blanket for a friend couple, a lesbian couple who are going through IVF in the fall and are hoping to expect their first baby together. And this selection of yarn is a mix of sock yarns, which is all 80% wool and 20% nylon in different colors. So I know that it can be washed, it can be manhandled, it can end up on the street thrown out of a stroller, it can then be chucked in the washing machine with a bunch of other clothing on a cold cycle, and it will be fine. It will not be felted together, it won't lose its shape, it's going to be all right. And I understand from people who have small children and children in general that they do a lot of laundry and they can't be fussing around with different precious knit objects that can't be just chucked in with the rest of the laundry for that day. So I have continued knitting on this. I have added a few more stripes, and I will update you in my next knitting podcast with how it's looking after a few more stripes, I suppose. So that is my only current work in progress. I am anticipating more knitting plans, and I am clearing my needles a bit because my partner and I are going to Norway, and I foresee myself getting quite a lot of new yarn. I have plans for new yarn, and I have specific things that I will be looking out for, and I want to be able to cast on those projects soon and not have a bunch of other projects on the go before I can use my Norway yarn. And now let's get on with the last portion of the video, which is my recent purchases. And I, despite just preaching about clearing my needles and giving space for my Norway yarn that I know I will be buying, I bought some yarn. So after making the Gemma polo and wearing the button band open and the collar, I really like that look, and I want a sleeveless top with the same construction idea, and I want it to be a more fall appropriate look. So I want it to be, I don't want it to be a very light and see-through fabric. This is, I think, quite appropriate for all seasons, but I wanted a darker one, a darker knit top as well. So when I was visiting my parents a few weeks ago, I went into one of their local yarn stores and I got the Isager Trio in the color chestnut. So this is 50% flax, 30% cotton, and 20% bamboo. And I really enjoyed knitting this cotton linen mix. I know that it's harsh on the fingers because it's a plant fiber, so it just wicks out all the moisture from your hands. And it's not stretchy at all, so it can be a bit crampy. But I really liked the finished effect of the fabric, how drapey it is and how soft it is and how light it is and how moisture absorbent it is. So I wanted to continue on with the plant fiber trend. So this flax cotton bamboo yarn I think will be a very interesting choice. So I found a pattern for this. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. I think it's from Mochi Knits, and I got 4 of these. They are already losing their shape because they're not. This yarn does not stick to itself at all, so they just flop about on the ball. So I got 4 of these, which is enough if I want to hold the yarn double, but I hope I can make it work with the yarn held single, because this would make a very fine top, a very fine fabric which I think I would enjoy quite a lot. When I went into that yarn store, I had 2 musts and 1 might, and the yarn was the might because I was open to find something like this. This was what I was going in for: cables to put on my needles to slip on live stitches and not have to worry about losing stitches, because in the last few weeks working with these plant fibers and with the silk for my camisole number 4, I dropped stitches when I went to try the garment on. So either the needle popped off, or the screw on thing, the cable minder stopper thing, screwed off a bit, and the yarn got caught in the ridges and became quite splitty. And I just realized that there is a solution to this problem, and it's going to cost me €2 to buy these cables, and I will throw money on that problem. So now I have. And the other must that I went into the yarn store for was a 3.5mm interchangeable needle, because this is my preferred needle size apparently, and I broke one of them. So when I was when I was on a trip somewhere, I had put my knitting on the floor next to my backpack, and then in the middle of the night when I got up, I accidentally stepped on one of the needles and broke it. This is the Knit Pro version, but it's in collaboration with Lanagatto, and the metal part is a rose gold, and the wooden part is not the usual, is not the usual marled wood, but a light unicolor wood instead. And I mean, I've heard people hate on these because they think they look tacky or too colorful or whatever. I don't mind them at all. I mean, these are fine too, but I couldn't say that I massively prefer one over the other. I think the Lanagrossa one might unscrew a bit easier than the usual Knit Pro ones, but I mean, it's fully manageable. Interchangeable needles, they unscrew a bit sometimes, and then you just fasten them again. So those are my recent purchases, and I foresee myself buying a lot of yarn, so I think I'll make a separate video for that and not incorporate it in my next knitting podcast, so I can go into more depth with the different fiber contents and where I got things. I know that I for sure want to stop at the Sandnes Garn factory outlet in Sandnes, because that is one of the few things that we've actually pinned for the trip. Otherwise, I think we'll mostly go off of vibes and feelings and impulses, which is exactly what we wanted for this year's summer holiday. Last year we went to Asia, and we had a very packed itinerary with different countries and flights and everything, and now for this vacation we wanted something much more relaxed and low stakes. So we will be going down to my parents again, borrowing their car, and then going up the west coast of Sweden and down into the south coast of Norway and up the west coast, before we then at one point or another head east again through the country and back to Sweden. So thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked the video, please do like it. If you found something worth commenting on or correcting me on, or tips and tricks, please do leave those comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my future uploads. As I said, there will be Norway content coming very soon, and I'm very excited to be sharing that with you. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.